Throughout history, powerful leaders have often lived in fear of assassination. Kings, presidents, dictators, and military rulers have all taken extraordinary measures to protect themselves. Among the most discussed figures in this context is Adolf Hitler, the dictator of Germany from 1933 to 1945 and leader of Nazi Germany. One of the most fascinating and controversial topics surrounding him is the story of his alleged body doubles, men who supposedly looked almost exactly like him and were used to confuse enemies and prevent assassination attempts. While some details are debated by historians, the legend of Hitler's 7 lookalikes has become one of the most mysterious stories of World War II. This is the story of those alleged 7 men, why they were chosen and what may have happened to them. Why would Hitler need lookalikes? During the 1930s and 1940s, Hitler was one of the most powerful and hated men in the world. As Germany expanded across Europe, many groups wanted him dead. There were resistance fighters inside Germany, foreign intelligence agencies, military officers plotting coups, Allied forces planning strategic attacks. Because of constant threats, Hitler's security was extremely tight. He rarely appeared in public without heavy protection. However, even with strong security, assassination attempts were made, the most famous being the July 20, 1944 plot by German officers. To reduce risk, it is believed that Hitler may have used body doubles. The idea was simple. If enemies could not be certain of his location, it would be harder to target him. The selection of the lookalikes. According to post-war reports and testimonies, Nazi officials searched for men who had similar facial features, were close in height and build, could grow the same toothbrush-style mustache, were willing or forced to cooperate. Some stories suggest these men were recruited from ordinary backgrounds, barbers, soldiers, or factory workers. Others say they were selected from within the military ranks. The alleged number varies between historians, but the popular story mentions 7 main lookalikes. Lookalike number 1, Gustav Wehler, the Polish double. One of the most frequently mentioned names is Gustav Wehler, a man reportedly found in Poland. According to some accounts, he was a soldier who closely resembled Hitler. After being discovered, he was allegedly trained in walking style, hand gestures, facial expressions, public posture. Hitler had a very specific way of standing, often leaning slightly forward with dramatic hand movements during speeches. A double would need to master these details. Some claims suggest Wehler was used during dangerous public appearances. However, historians debate whether solid proof exists. Lookalike number 2, the Austrian laborer. Another story speaks of an Austrian man who worked as a laborer. Because Hitler himself was originally from Austria, it may have been easier to find similar facial structures there. This double was allegedly used during train movements. When Hitler traveled across Germany or occupied territories, rumors of his presence would spread. Using a double at train stations could confuse spies watching the routes. Lookalike number 3, the unknown soldier. Several Soviet reports after the war claimed they discovered the body of a Hitler double. Some accounts say this man was found near Berlin after the fall of the city in 1945. When the Soviet army entered Berlin, led by forces of the Soviet Union, there was confusion about Hitler's death. Soviet leader Joseph Stalin initially questioned whether Hitler had truly died in the bunker. Some Soviet intelligence officers suggested that a body found might have been a double, planted to fake his death. However, modern historical research supports the conclusion that Hitler died by suicide in April 1945. Lookalike number 4, the Bavarian clerk. Another rumored double was a Bavarian clerk who resembled Hitler in facial features but required heavy makeup and grooming adjustments. Nazi image control was extremely strict. Hitler's hair, mustache, and uniform were carefully maintained. If a double appeared in a distant location, most people would only see him briefly from far away, making minor differences difficult to notice. This double may have appeared at minor, public events while the real Hitler stayed in secure locations. Lookalike number 5, the actor. Some accounts claim that one double had acting experience. An actor would be ideal because he could mimic speech patterns. He could copy gestures. He could maintain emotional expressions. Hitler's speeches were dramatic and theatrical. His powerful delivery style required practice. A trained performer would have a better chance of convincing an audience, at least from a distance. However, Historians have not found definitive documents confirming this actor's identity. Lookalike number 6, the concentration camp prisoner. One of the darker and more disturbing rumors suggests that a prisoner was forced to act as a body double. In this version of the story, the man was selected purely for his resemblance and given no choice. This theory reflects the brutality of the Nazi regime. Millions suffered under its rule, and forcing someone into such a dangerous role would not have been unthinkable within that system. There is limited evidence supporting this claim, but it remains part of the legend surrounding Hitler's doubles. Lookalike number 7, the final bunker double. The most dramatic theory involves the final days in Berlin. As Allied forces closed in, some believed Hitler might attempt escape using a double to fake his death. When Soviet forces captured Berlin, they reportedly found multiple burned bodies near the Führer bunker. This led to confusion about which body belonged to Hitler. Modern forensic analysis and historical records strongly indicate that Hitler and Eva Braun died in the bunker, but for years rumors spread that a double had been used to stage the scene. How were the doubles trained? If these doubles truly existed, their training would have included physical appearance adjustments, haircut, mustache shaping, posture and walking style practice, limited speech training, controlled exposure to public events, strict secrecy agreements. Security officials likely kept them isolated. They would only appear in highly controlled environments, where distance and confusion could protect the illusion. Psychological pressure on the doubles. Imagine living as a body double for one of the most targeted leaders in the world. These men would have faced constant fear of assassination, lack of personal freedom, isolation from family, risk of execution if secrets leaked. If used in dangerous locations, they were essentially human shields. The psychological burden must have been enormous. They could never reveal their true identity publicly. Their survival depended on secrecy.